There has been some talk about invoking the 25th Amendment coming from politicians. Let's take a deep dive now. Michael Ayala, Court TV anchor, took a look at it today.
A day after the violent occupation of the United States Capitol building by rioters, lawmakers are calling for the removal of President Donald Trump.
All indications are that the president has become unmoored, not just from his duty, nor even his oath, but from reality itself. It is for this reason that I call for the vice president and members of the cabinet to ensure the next few weeks are safe for the American people and that we have a sane captain of the ship.
Illinois Representative Adam Kinzinger became the first Republican to openly join a growing group of lawmakers, including Speaker of the House Democrat Nancy Pelosi, who are calling upon the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
My friends, we are in a very difficult place in our country as long as Donald Trump still sits in the White House.
The 25th Amendment provides a path for those closest to the president to declare him unfit for office and allowing the vice president to assume his duties.
The 25th Amendment dictates that there is a mechanism for dealing with a president who is, and this is the term in the amendment, unable to perform the duties of the office. And the mechanism is that the vice president, acting along with a majority of the cabinet, can declare that the president is unable to perform the duties of the office.
President Trump's ability to lead has come under scrutiny after he appeared to incite yesterday's attack on the Capitol by encouraging supporters to march on the building in a show of strength.
It's all part of a comprehensive assault on our democracy, and the American people are finally standing up and saying, no, this crowd is, again, a testament to it.
The president has repeatedly blamed his defeat in the national election on widespread voter fraud, claims thus far rejected by state officials and courts across the country.
So then the question is, well, is he believing fraudulent information because he really believes it? Well, that's almost a test of insanity. When you have someone who commits a crime and they say, well, he really didn't know the difference between right and wrong. Well, that's a test of insanity. Or that he had an irresistible impulse and couldn't resist it. Again, a test of insanity.
Here are the steps for declaring a president unable to carry out his duties under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. The vice president sends a letter to Congress stating the president is unable to discharge powers and duties of office. The vice president then immediately assumes the office of president. The president can then send his own letter to Congress declaring himself fit and that no inability exists. Then, the vice president, along with a majority of the cabinet, can take the issue to Congress once again, where it would require 2/3 of both the House and the Senate to officially declare the president unfit for office, thereby allowing the vice president to once again take over the presidency. The 25th Amendment has been voluntarily invoked in recent history by both President Reagan and President George W. Bush when they faced temporary incapacitation due to surgical procedures. But Section 4 of the amendment, allowing for the involuntary removal of presidential power, has never been invoked.
There's some question about what does unable mean. Does that refer only to a physical disability? Does it refer to a mental illness? Does it refer to a president who is unable to perform the duties because the president has shown himself to be unable or unwilling to actually fulfill his constitutional oath? Right. Those are questions that have been open for the entire existence of the 25th Amendment. We've never come close to having an answer to them.
All right, let's bring in Court TV anchor Michael Ayala. And Michael, what are the actual chances here? Let's come back down to reality, take the politics out of it. What are the chances here?
0 to none, Vinny, and none just left town.
All right, in truth, these statements regarding the 25th Amendment amount to really nothing more than grandstanding under the circumstances. The 25th Amendment was really meant to be used when a president is suddenly incapacitated or anticipates being incapacitated and therefore unable to carry out his duties. Now, such as in 1919, I believe it was Woodrow Wilson, he was incapacitated by a stroke. Now, then Vice President Thomas Marshall then went through the procedures outlined to assume power. Now, the fact is, if the president is of sound mind, he can easily either send that letter, as I mentioned in the piece, to Congress and retake the office, or in the case of a mutiny by his cabinet, he can just fire them all and hire folks who will toe the party line. And good luck getting 2/3 of the Senate, in this case, to agree. So it's a high bar, and it requires bipartisan support for a reason. So really, in this situation, it's a toothless threat that really amounts to really what's posturing, allowing politicians to register a strong disagreement without any real commitment to meaningful action.
Okay, there's also been talk about another impeachment. And what are the chances of that? And is the clock running out on that? I mean, we're talking about a few more days left of the presidency.
Yeah, it can happen pretty quickly. I was surprised to find that out. And impeachment, by far, is the better way to go. It is a far more efficient and realistic approach to the problem. Now, Nancy Pelosi today suggested it, and so have several others. But so far, from what I've been able to discern, only Representative Oman of Minnesota has actually drafted articles of impeachment. But it is a remedy that is available to all representatives if they really want to take real action. Here's how Professor Kinkoff explains it.
Although it's a very difficult procedure, the much more practical procedure, the one that really ought to be on the table, is impeachment. Right? Impeachment is difficult, but it's far more streamlined than the 25th Amendment. And it's where this kind of political judgment really ought to be made, in the House and in the Senate. So frankly, I think those members of Congress who are calling for the invocation of the 25th Amendment are really just abdicating their own responsibility in this situation. If the situation is such that the president is a danger to the nation and needs to be removed from office, then that's Congress's job. And Congress ought to step up and do it if that's what they think, if that's where they think we are. The other result of an impeachment conviction, as opposed to the 25th Amendment, is that the Senate can vote to impose on the president a bar against him ever holding office again, which would mean Donald Trump could never run for president again. The 25th Amendment doesn't accomplish any of that.
And Vinny, the Judiciary Committee and Congress really set the rules, so they could have this on the floor of the Senate by tomorrow had they started earlier today, if they really wanted to. So we will keep a close eye on that, whether there's any progress there. And it's really the second part that he mentioned that's important, because President Trump has mentioned he wants to run again, and he will try to run again, and they can actually, with an impeachment action, stop that from happening.
So when we get down to the substance of it, what is the basis, right? I understand what happened at the Capitol yesterday. So what are they alleging, or what are people thinking someone could allege is the basis for this impeachment, this removal?
Well, the call has really come as a result of his inciting the violence. That's an insurrection, right? That's a sedition against the United States. He's acting against the best interests of the Constitution.
So specifically, by not accepting and believing that the election results were fraudulent? And
yes, by first of all, well, you're allowed to believe whatever you want. It's
right.
How you act on those beliefs. And they believe that what he's doing is taking those beliefs and using them to arouse an insurrection. So they're saying the words that he's using is what's actually inciting this insurrection. And because of that, he's a danger to the United States, and they're going to use that as saying, A, he may be unable under the 25th Amendment, which I don't think is going to work, but also they can use that in articles of impeachment.
And are they citing any specific words? Like, okay, he said this, do X, Y, and Z, or a specific tweet? Was it something at the speech yesterday? Because that's the part that I haven't heard yet. I'm wondering if they are putting that out there, that when he said this, that is the reason he needs to be impeached? Or is it just kind of a general thing? Because they've impeached him once before. There's been calls in the past to invoke this 25th Amendment. That's been talked about for 4 years. So I'm wondering if they're citing a specific line, a specific moment, or is it more of this just general kind of tone?
Well, we haven't yet seen the paperwork from Representative Oman, so I'm not exactly sure what they're citing there, but I can tell you this. I think it is a general accusation overall. I think yesterday's events are what crystallized this to a movement now to perhaps remove him from office, because they can see that this is actually going to another level and people are acting on this in a way that I think a lot of representatives were very scared on both sides of the aisle.
Oh yeah, they were scared because they were in
Yes,
the
they
Capitol, and you know what? The Capitol was breached. It was dangerous. It was violent. People died. It was awful.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see because impeachment is an accusation, and what exactly the accusation is going to be and the factual basis for it will be the key. The facts and the law. Michael Ayala, always on top of it. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.